guys. Thanks for staying. We'll keep it short.
You can actually tell a lot with the Q&As by how many people get up and leave.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Give them a minute.
So before we get started, a huge thank you to ArcLight and Warner Brothers for partnering up with us to do the screening, and to you guys for coming to. Oh, look at this. This might help if anyone takes any pictures.
Share your reactions with us. Your positive reactions.
So first of all, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, but then I'm going to open it up to you guys. So if you are thinking about anything or think about it now. So I guess we'll do the basic thing first, which is how did this project come together?
Well, it actually started with Jason over here. We were not involved at the very beginning of it. Jason, how did it come together?
Well, it was something that was brought over to me to act, produce, and direct, and we worked with the writer, and then another writer, and to try to develop it over a number of years, and then it kind of got marched its way down the field, and we're like, well, it's still lacking a lot, and we started kicking around ideas for like, who could really close this? Let's stop dicking around with writers that just can't get it done. And then like, well, John and Jonathan would be amazing for this, and I think the word was like, yeah, but they really just want to direct stuff that they write nowadays. And I'm like, well, I don't blame them. I said, well, if we can get them to write this, I'll just do the acting and producing stuff. And they said yes, and it was like the greatest yes ever. And so I just tried to be a good soldier as an actor and as a producer, and try to support. And then they're going to tell you how I feel.
He's a terrific soldier.
The best soldier. I baited him into that.
Yeah, so then we became involved, and we started thinking about who to fill the rest of our cast with. And Rachel McAdams was always part of the conversation. We loved her.
Isn't it weird that they haven't worked together before? Like, you see it, and it's like, of course.
Other than State of Play. State of Play, but that was like one scene, right? Yeah, that doesn't count.
So, and we loved, what drew us to the project, besides Jason's involvement, was the opportunity to do a comedy that wasn't just a comedy, but to do something that had a thriller aspect and suspense to it, and to shoot it in a way that looked and felt as much like a thriller as a comedy.
So we kept that in mind as we were casting, and tried to get as many great dramatic actors as we could. Jesse Plemons, I mean, the guy kills it, and he's fantastic in the movie, and we were surprised by how willing the studio was to roll with that choice, because he's the first person you'd think of.
Can I ask you a question about that? And we've never talked about this, because Jesse didn't audition,
no.
Right? I mean, you wouldn't ask him to audition. The guy knows what he's doing. So the first time any of us saw what he was going to do with that character was on the first day of shooting, and 20 minutes before you're rolling film, you go in there and you say, okay, let's rehearse the scene, and that's where you see his take on this character, which, if you can imagine, the dialogue is written and there's a brief description about the character, but you don't know what an actor's going to do. That's what auditioning's for. Were you at all taken aback at all? I mean, that's a very specific take on that character. Did you guys huddle? We didn't huddle at all. Did you guys go off the board like, it was shit? No, what are we gonna do? I mean, obviously
we couldn't have asked for more. It was better than we had dreamed of.
But there's no way you could have imagined that was going to be the take, and that's part of the director's talent, is to like get on board with what an actor is going to do. It's never going to be what you thought.
Right. There were multiple iterations, I think, of that character as we were writing it, and we kind of fell into the hyper-articulate, incredibly boring, but somehow charming, anti-hero.
And we always knew we wanted to be constantly dialing in on him, regardless. Even if it was the most boring thing in the world, we wanted to treat it like it was really important.
We made the conscious decision never to use music to kind of inform the audience that they should feel weirded out by him. So instead we have cicadas that we just amp up, haven't seen him. But yeah, he's fucking great.
He's fantastic. One of the things that you touched on it a little bit, but one of the things that really struck me about the film is the way it looks. It's not like flat. The camera's constantly moving, and it's just shot like a thriller, and it's shot really well. Talk a little bit about the look of the film.
Well, I think if there's one influence that was probably at the forefront, it was Fincher. Obviously, his game is sort of a jumping off point for the story we're telling. There's a comedic version of that in some respect. But we wanted to sort of, when you watch a thriller, the difference is that the camera never gives you the sense that there's anyone in the room. There's no cameraman. It's this sort of all-seeing, objective camera. And we kept telling our cameraman, don't correct. And that's something comedy people, when the actor moves around, they want to keep them in the frame. And so they're moving up a little, moving down, moving this way. And we're like, just take your hands off the camera.
And I'm sure like most people don't even give a shit about that or care or notice it even. I think, but on a subconscious level, it adds an element of tension to any scene because you're not given the benefit of having a cameraman there to share like the more dramatic moments with you. Suddenly you're alone with these characters, and it actually makes the danger feel a little bit more real.
Yeah, we almost never used a Steadicam in this. It was almost always on tracks because the Steadicam has this sort of floaty feel that you see in a lot of comedies, and there's just something composed about the dolly that gives it the feel we wanted. And the color palette, and you probably noticed sort of there's this desaturated look to everything. It's very washed out and grim looking, like that scene in the back room of the bar where Jason gets shot. It was this sickly green kind of feel, which is the Fincher-esque look.
Jason, you have this amazing ability to have chemistry with everyone you play against, and you have great chemistry with Rachel. So when I spoke to you earlier, you mentioned that you didn't do rehearsals with her, you didn't do sort of just in the moment. What's your secret for finding chemistry with literally everyone?
Well, I don't.
No, I mean, seriously, am I wrong? He finds chemistry with everyone.
I'm seeing chemistry between you two right now.
Steve, what are you doing with it? There's no mystery, no secret. She's just a really nice person, and as you guys work with people, like you don't really have chemistry with people that are kind of jerks, and you have great chemistry with people that are nice. Like she's just she's amazingly talented and really kind, and she's Canadian, for God's sakes. You can't help but have chemistry with Canadians. They're the kindest people on the planet.
It's true. It's in their DNA.
The other thing about Jason is that he can play a real a-hole and still be someone you root for. Mm-hmm. What's the secret?
I mean, I think he's just an inherently likable guy.
What we found in working with him over the years is that his character in The Gift is probably the closest to the true Jason. But that's kind of who he is. And then he dolls it up a little for the comedies.
I did say at the end of that, when I watched that movie back, I said, oh God, now everyone's gonna know who my wife is married to.
I always like asking about the editing process because ultimately that's the final rewrite. Mm-hmm. So you guys must have done some test screenings or friends and family screenings. What did you learn from those screenings?
Well, we were really nervous going into our first screening because what we had basically been given permission to do by the studio was really kind of lean into the thriller components a lot more than I think you could in an action comedy or thriller comedy. And so we, even with our music, we had Cliff Martinez do the score. He had only done Steven Soderbergh stuff. He had never done a comedy before. And so we were taking a bit of a swing with that. And so we thought, maybe it'll land, maybe no one will understand what the tone of this thing is.
Yeah, I mean, part of the intention was to sort of keep the audience guessing, what is this movie? There's a little bit of this sort of back and forth and walking the tightrope of tone. And if you get that wrong, it kills the comedy or it kills the suspense. And so we were very unsure going in if it was going to play at all. And fortunately, it did from the first. And we didn't actually change all that much. The biggest change was the Denzel payoff. That originally was an entirely different payoff.
It was a way less satisfying payoff.
Was the original version something with Glenn Close?
It was something with Glenn Close. It was just a talking scene. She reveals that she slept with Glenn Close. We don't cut to a flashback, and he doesn't know how to feel about it.
It was so unsatisfying. It was just kind of like, huh. And the audience, you could feel them going, huh.
But then we put some icing on that cake with him doing a Denzel impression to close it. So I think people kind of forgot that whole bit didn't work because he did such a good Denzel. And then as we were talking about it, we were like, I wish we could have just gotten a real Denzel. There's no way we could. What if we got an impersonator playing? What if we actually make it a true non-Denzel character and kind of, we Googled Denzel impersonators.
There was a guy in Florida.
His name is Malcolm X. Hughes.
If you ever need him for a bachelorette party, sweetest guy in the world, fantastic guy. You saw him with the southern accent at the end, that's how he really talks. And then we digitally altered his face a little bit to make it look more like Denzel.
And it decreasingly like Denzel and more like himself as that flashback goes on. So you realize you're not crazy. That isn't Denzel.
That's amazing.
See, these guys, I mean, I don't know, I go on. They worked so hard, made so many great decisions throughout making this movie. We're talking about what Jonathan was saying about trying to navigate that tone, and like, you could make the easy choice here or the tougher choice here, and you hope that the cumulative effects of those will land on something that you guys did. And it's really, these movies don't need to be great looking or somewhat elevated in certain areas, you know, because, you know, I go see these movies all the time. I just want to eat popcorn, I want to laugh a few times. I don't really care about how they're lit or how they're scored, or so I think it's very admirable what you guys did. It's nailed it. Thank you.
There was a difficult producer on the set. His name was Jason Bateman, and I'm curious what it's like working with an actor who is also the producer. And also, what is it like being the actor and the producer on the movie and wearing both hats?
Well, I have hopefully a very light touch. A producer can kind of touch the film at like 3 different moments. It can kind of be as you put it together, or during principal photography, or during post. My producerial, contributions came well before we started shooting, and I was always there if they ever wanted or needed me, but they didn't, and I just kind of did my thing, and tried to weigh in whenever asked. But these guys were incredibly well prepared and all the way through the whole process. It was awesome.
And to Jason's credit, I mean, I think just having him there as a producer the whole time, because he's acting, it was incredibly useful to us because the guy is a legit pro. He's been around doing this since he was a kid, and you can tell, and his instincts are always, spot on. So I think to have that third voice in this case, chiming in with, his feelings and thoughts on things, I think was incredibly helpful.
There's a joke in the third act towards the end about child stars. Who came up with that? Because 2 of the 3 people up here are child stars.
Jonathan was in a Wheaties ad,
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry.
And cue it.
Oh my God, we found it. I think we wrote that joke, I guess, but Jason.
It wasn't too.
Wasn't there a more
Allude to
specific
Jason.
version of it when we were shooting it? Wasn't there something that dug a little deeper and hurt a little bit more?
Peaked in references in the 80s, something like one of those.
Something that was a little bit more
Possible, right?
Yeah.
Went through a lot of alts.
Yeah, that's another thing. When you're directing, I mean, you're directing Ozark right now, and you've directed movies. How many takes do you typically like to do? Because I've asked this question of a lot of actors about, do people prefer the Clint Eastwood method? Because he shoots the rehearsal, and then does a take or two, and you're lucky to get 2 takes. And then you move on, and then Fincher, 50, 60 takes.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as directors.
Somewhere between Eastwood and Fincher.
Yeah, somewhere in between there.
No, it depends what it is. If it's a stunt, ideally once, and you get it, you don't risk anybody's well-being. If it's a very comedic moment, then we'll probably go a few more times to see if we can find any nuggets of gold in there. Because once we have what's on the page, we like to open it up and let the actors who are comfortable doing it find a little bit of ad lib.
Yeah, but generally as few times as we can. You know, that doesn't mean that we sometimes go for a lot of takes, but just generally, you know, when you have something that feels like it works, you kind of know it, and you're comfortable. And just to have a directing partner too, it's nice to have a sounding board where it's like, do you think we have it? Do you think we have it? You know. So.
We also made it hard on ourselves because we only had about 40 days to shoot this, and
For real?
yeah, and we lost a certain number of days because we added them elsewhere. For example, that egg toss sequence, that was a day and a half to shoot that 90 seconds. And so we had to take that away from the scene on the bridge, which is like a 12 or 15 pages of script. And so we had 3 nights, 3 very hectic nights to shoot all that stuff you saw on the bridge. And what made it worse was there were trains that would go under the bridge in the middle of the night every 20 minutes or so. And they were those long trains that go for 10 minutes and they kill the sound.
Cartoon trains, like it would go on for 20 minutes, and then we'd have about a 5-minute window to shoot something. Not very conducive for actors, especially the fact that it was all shooting at night as well.
And this app, our DP gave us this app that tells you when the sun's gonna rise, and it was the most stressful fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like, we got 2 hours.
Well, first of all, how do you like to direct in terms of like takes and stuff like that? Going back to that.
When it comes to comedy, I think it all depends on whether it's a written joke or kind of a performance joke. If it's a performance joke, I enjoy enough takes to kind of get comfortable with it so that you can find that rhythm and kind of polish that. If it's a written joke, you know, you can sit there, you can come up with a gazillion different jokes, and sometimes that gets a little, you know, annoying because every single one of those jokes is going to work for a gazillion different people. So how do you know when, you know, you're just going to put it all in a test screening and turn the camera on the audience and see which one they laugh at? It's sort of a monkey process up on the stage. So I don't know. It really depends in comedy whether it's performance or written.
And going back to the 40-day shoot, a lot of people might not realize what that is. That's not a lot of time. You know, what's a typical movie? What, 65 days? A lot of big.
It all depends on the budget. Yeah.
Like a lot of big budget movies are.
Big budget movies are twice that or more. I mean, the Marvel movies are 80, 100, 120 days sometimes. With, you know, what's that?
We don't know what you're talking about.
That's the 300-day shoot.
I think some people might not realize you guys worked on Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes.
That was kind of good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just throwing that out there.
Steve just flew in from Berlin.
Yeah, there's a little bit, that's not important. Let's open it up to the audience. I'm right there. Yeah, no, yeah, you.
So this is a pretty great look at like game night culture and people who play games and party games. Can you talk a little bit about painting a picture of those kind of people or people who enjoy that kind of thing? And what are your favorite games?
Yeah, I mean, I would host game nights with my wife every weekend for the longest time, and it's generally people that, you know, have had a long and hard week of work and want an excuse to yell at their friends without being a dick. And so, I mean, our game of choice was always Mafia. And a lot of people know that. A lot of people do. But that's like the one where you really do get to just lay it on your friends.
It seems to be really active in that window between, like, you're too old to still go to the bar and, you know, wake up with a hangover, but you're too young to really bite off having kids. So it's like that 5-year window. That's when I did all my game playing. Now I got 2 kids, and I'm done. I'm in bed by 8:30. I'm gonna sleep for an hour.
What game or games were your games?
That is what was it? Wolves and Townsmen, or whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, Mafia, same thing.
Yeah, or, you know, Pictionary or charades or you know, any of those.
I just read books.
Next question. Right there.
Don't fight.
What is your process for directing as a team?
There's this leg wrestling thing we do. And then the winner is in charge of that day.
The set PA can tell when we're done, when the trailer stops shaking.
It's leg wrestling, guys. We're leg wrestling. No, our process is that we spend a lot of time talking before we ever get to the set. We prepare everything that can happen, basically, because the last thing we want is to show up and have this guy think that we disagree, as he will not tolerate it.
No fighting.
So I think every director prepares, but maybe we do a little more because we have to make sure our brains are in exactly the same place before we ever get to shoot anything.
And neither of us are, the look guy and the performance guy. We kind of we divvy it up and do it all as a team.
And I think because we started writing together, we developed processes that were very sort of symbiotic, and so we just brought that into the directing.
Weirdly, when we're writing, we're basically directing onto the page, because I think a lot of writers want to direct, and because writing is pretty thankless generally. So just to be able to kind of see a film to fruition is really satisfying, and so we kind of have an idea of what we want to do before we even do it.
Right there.
This cast is it's very based in TV. There's a lot of great TV actors, and I was wondering which of the cast you were most surprised with, like that brought a lot more to the character, and then Jason, which one did you like sort of playing with most that you hadn't before?
Jesse was the standout just in terms of what he brought to it and the commitment and the seriousness of it. You saw it's like we plucked him out of another movie and put him in this comedy.
Billy Magnuson was kind of a surprise to us too, because with each take, it was entirely different from the last. The guy works solely on instinct alone, and in the most incredible naturalistic and hilarious way. So working with him was especially exciting, because you really had no idea what he was going to do with each take.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I remember watching his audition and going like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
There's an energy there that's pretty infectious. And I knew it would help me just do what I like to do, which is just lay back and do nothing.
One of the reviews that came out tonight described Billy as a male Marilyn Monroe, which I think was pretty spot on.
That is very good. Next question, right there.
So there must have been some point at which all of you guys kind of saw this in completed form for the first time, right? And given that you kind of interacted with the making of the film in different ways, what was your experience with that? What were your thoughts looking at it for the first time?
Well, the very first thing we see is the editor's assembly, and that's always a little traumatizing. Not to take anything away from our very talented editors, it's just not quite the way you had imagined the movie. So then you get in the edit room with them and you spend 2 months basically every day looking through every single take and putting it all together in the way that you imagined it. And then it's not until you really see it with an audience that you get a sense of what you have, because you're so close to the material.
But even then, that's the first test screening. It's months of work after that. In this case, we did a reshoot, but also just the visual effects work, and that coda, or the title sequence, was a motion control shot that we did with our title house like a month or 2 months after we had finished our reshoot. Actually, it was in December. So you don't really see it until, the final mix or the DLC, where you're just looking at, trying to find any kind of imperfection. But it's such a long and extended process that there's never any one moment where it's like,
we'd still be working on it if they didn't take it away from us.
I am curious though, how involved are you in the edit of a movie when you're the producer? producer and the star? Like, what is it like to go in the editing room, and are you commenting on your take and saying, hey, I remember doing it a little differently in take 4?
Zero. I didn't do a thing. I thought I said earlier I like to do nothing. No, it's again, you're there if you're called upon. You know, if you're, you know, there's so many people that are necessary to making these things, and as a consequence, there's a lot of opinions that you get, that you need, that you want, that you deflect. You know, they always knew where I was, and I never wanted to put another voice into the kitchen or whatever the phrase is, because I just know how annoying that can be at times. You know, their taste is amazing, their process is really professional, and I knew that they had a full plate as well.
So when did you, to go back to your question, when did you see it for the first time?
That's what I was saying when we walked out here. I mean, it looks incredible up there, and I was trying to remember when. I know I've seen the film, and I remember seeing it and loving it. I couldn't remember what. I think I saw it on a laptop with a link, right?
Oh my God. I think you came in. Did you see the edit room?
Oh yeah.
That's when you gave the notes on which take you want.
That's right.
Unlike like on a TV.
It was just a TV in our editing
Yeah,
room.
with the editor's assistant or something like that. Yeah. An
Which is
early
not the
version.
ideal way to see it.
Yeah, some of the score
Yeah.
I think was in, or a lot of the effects were in, or something like that. But I remember loving it and going, oh wow, okay, great, the wheel is round. Because I mean, it's sneaky tough to make fake life. You know, like you get no credit for just 95% of the work is spent just trying to get you to level, which is like, oh, that's believable. Like, I don't see the boom, the lens cap is off, everyone's wearing clothes, like all of those stuff. Like, it takes a lot of work to come up with all of those decisions. And then it's got a spike after that. And that's where, you can really lose it. And so it was great to see that all of those choices they had made had come together so well. And then now that all the finished stuff is on it, it really crackles.
Next question, I see someone waving their hand.
What are your thoughts about a sequel, and if you do, when can I be in it?
Yes. Can you step into the light? Just gonna look at you. You're in.
You know, it's one of those things, like we're up against Black Panther. Who knows if we're gonna open on Friday? I don't know. Tell your friends.
Yeah, if you like it, tell everyone about it,
And then we can talk about a sequel.
yeah.
That's actually a question though, following up on that. Nowadays, the studios are always looking for franchises, shared universes, sequels. How much when you're pitching the studio, how much is the conversation where people are asking, do you think it could continue? And how much is it sort of like, we're just making one movie here? And
I don't think it comes into the conversation at that point. Like when we were, talking about our take on what to do with the script as it was, and what, our vision for directing it. Every comedies have become so difficult now, especially to make original or different or successful. So I think the movie that you're making is really the forefront of their attention.
Yeah, just to get to make a movie that doesn't have intellectual property behind it is a feat these days.
Sure. I see a hand right there. Yeah. Yep.
I had a question about marketing for this, for trailers. I've noticed a lot with comedy movies, especially, a lot of the punchlines get ruined in the trailers. And did you guys have input on it?
Did you feel like that happened here?
I did not. I felt like there was enough jokes in the movie that weren't in the trailer.
What about the rest of you? Did you feel like the trailers ruined too many good things?
No, the plane stuff.
The plane thing.
Yeah.
Right.
The guy getting
Oh
stuck.
wait, there's definitely more happening.
But I did feel like when that guy got sucked up in that jet engine, like when you put like the 5 minutes beforehand and the music around it and all that stuff, you know what's coming, but it's still much more satisfying when you see it in here, right? I mean, I'm just like you, I hate when it's all spoiled, but inevitably when you see it in context, it's that good and then some.
Has everyone here seen the trailer? Everyone's seen the trailer.
I mean, we had as much involvement as they would let us have. Obviously, they do their thing, and they've been doing it a long time, and they believe this is the way you market something. And we put in our 2 cents. But it's hard, you know, especially a comedy, especially one that's aspiring to be something a little different, because anytime a movie doesn't fit neatly into one of the 4 or 5 boxes that they know in the market, it's challenging to get across what it is. And they're always afraid of muddying the message. Is it a thriller? Is it a comedy? What is this? And they're afraid it'll put people off. So it's hard.
It definitely is, because it's also a few different tones.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have to defer ultimately to them in terms of just like what they think the best way to market it is, because we're not advertisers, you know. That's not what we're necessarily good at. So.
Well, I was going to say, I think what you said, and I totally agree with. I think that when the trailer gives away everything,
Yeah.
and then you go see the movie, and everything, you've seen all the good jokes, that pisses you off.
Absolutely, and what sucks is that that has happened enough times that there is this assumption for most people going into a movie that it has been spoiled, you know, by the trailer itself. So it's a lot to contend with, because you want to show people what, you know, makes the movie special, but at the same time, by showing them that, you're giving away a lot.
But when a film is just jokes, you run that risk. With what you guys have done here, you kind of create, you know, sort of a different kind of experience, I think, you know, a little bit more of an environment. You know?
Yeah, and there are twists in the story, and, you know, it's not just, like Jason said, jokes, so I think you can't really spoil those in a trailer, so there's still a lot to look forward to.
Totally. I think the consensus in the theater tonight was that the movie had a lot more in it than the trailers had given away. So, success. Next question. Is there... Oh, right there.
Yeah, when I was invited to come here, I went immediately to look at the trailer, and the sucking into the airplane, that's what sunk me to come in. And the other thing was, I wanted to congratulate you guys on the music, which was really good, very much in the background, but leading off with Queen and ending with Queen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that doesn't come cheap. If you're making a movie at home and you think you're going to get 2 Queen songs, $600,000 ready to spend.
Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Queen joke? We'll work on it. We'll come back for the next screen.
What I was going to say is, one of the things also that I really liked is that there's a lot of setup, but a lot of jokes get set up in the first act that get paid off in the third.
Was it great?
Oh,
So-
this is the jet lag sitting.
Agreement
Sorry.
after.
Yeah, but talk a little bit about the challenge of doing those the setups, because it's something that's really well done in this film.
Thank you. Well, you know, the one that wasn't well done was the Glenn Close joke. That's why we reshot it. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the longer you can hold on something, and hopefully the audience forgets that it was even a running gag or a joke that was established in the beginning, the more of a payoff you're going to get at the end. I know we wanted to pay off the bungee cord bit at some point. And figuring out how to put a bungee cord into a private jet, that had been completely contrived.
And also bringing back the charades of the airport thing. But, you know, it's actually your pitch. I think you were like, shouldn't we kind of own this? You know, that we're doing this cute movie thing, so we put in that line about this is some cute full circle bullshit. Because you never want the audience to be thinking something that we didn't think. You know, and so you want to tell them, yeah, we know it's cute.
Right.
Who's asleep?
Right.
These guys are tired.
I think you guys.
No, that's Phil.
He's working.
Yeah, no, that's
Keeping the camera steady.
exactly.
I think you guys collaborate really well ever since the first Horrible Bosses to now. Does it ever? Well, that's a weird way of putting it. Does it ever get old working with each other? Are you guys learning new things every time you work with each other? And can we expect another collaboration?
God willing.
That's where all three of these guys are going to continue working together. Yeah, I would. You're including me in that. Yes, please. I mean, that's the Horrible Bosses 3. Yeah. You guys made that clear for us.
What, do you want to be with your families at Thanksgiving? Come on, I'll laugh. I would say the joy of working with someone on a regular, semi-regular basis, and specifically Jason, is that you get their voice in your head. As a writer and a director, it makes your job that much easier because you can just sort of let them do what they do and set them up to shine, and you know they're going to nail it, and it's such a pleasure and so much easier for us because you just, wind him up and he's fucking great. So it's a joy.
Yeah, and we were, working as writers on Horrible Bosses, so we didn't really have much say in anything. So just to be able to direct him was really gratifying because all the things that you kind of imagine him saying in your head, he says in a way that you didn't even expect. Like, your delivery is always so comfortable and also surprising, if that makes any sense.
It's just like my wife.
It's the putting of the emphasis on the unlikeliest syllable.
Yeah, that's it. And cutting question marks. Right there.
A simple question. I was trying to pinpoint the location where this was all happening. Usually I can spot out if it's LA or not. The 4th Street Bridge really looked like our 4th Street Bridge, but the background buildings didn't.
Yeah,
it's Atlanta. They don't exist.
It's always Atlanta.
Well, it was Atlanta, but that background was amplified with CG, so because it wasn't there weren't as many buildings, so we added some. But we did specifically not identify where we are. We wanted it to be anywhere in America, kind of, or maybe Canada.
You can safely assume now that everything you're watching is in LA. Yeah, every movie you go through.
Yeah, you can do
It's
it.
a lot like the 4th Street Bridge downtown. So
That was,
The 4th Street Bridge downtown is actually Atlanta.
Walking Dead, there's a whole bunch of stuff that shoots in Atlanta. What is the rebate up to 75% now?
We saved $8 million.
We can go for the hush puppies.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with a serious tax rebate, and then you're just struggling to try to find diverse locations that people haven't seen a million times before. Stranger Things and Walking Dead, and every movie on Netflix.
The interesting thing is you had a lot of, you had Mike C. Hall, you had a whole bunch of really good actors come in for small roles, which is sometimes a challenge in Atlanta. It's easier when you're shooting in LA to land those actors that everyone knows. What was the secret to getting everyone?
Delta's hub. Very easy. Everywhere you fly right into Atlanta.
I mean, just the promise of working in a Jason Bateman movie.
But you know what I mean? Like, when you're...
It was a real answer.
Money? Money offer?
They offer the money and they come. Yeah, it's all about schedules, obviously.
A couple of lunches with me.
Promises of lunch. Michael C. Hall was in England doing his episode of The Crown, I think, when we spoke to him, and he was like, yeah, I can make that. It's how many days? And blah, blah, blah. I would say Jesse was the best soldier because he came and went about, 5 times?
He was doing a Martin Scorsese movie at the same time.
Yeah. We had to put a hat on him because he had long hair. But yeah, he flew in and out, and it was terrific.
Next question. Wait, who said that? Right there, sure.
So some of my favorite scenes are like the close-up of Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams, and just Rachel McAdams with the gun and her buddy in his arm. What were some of your favorite scenes to see come to life?
I love the dog scene personally. It was a bit of a nightmare to shoot because you're dealing with the continuity of blood, spatter. So we had 2 bedrooms next to each other on stage, so that we could reset one while we were shooting the other. But just seeing Jason with this really stupid creature was pretty fun.
I seem to remember that going kind of quickly though, right? I mean, again, they were so buttoned up with they knew what they wanted, so it was like, well, we don't know how long the dog's going to behave himself or his twin, so let's just keep the cameras rolling. I think there were 3 cameras going. We just kind of get from A to Z.
Yeah, and there were different dogs with different abilities. Like one of the dogs was good at shaking, you know, when the water was poured.
And the rest of the dogs weren't good at anything. So we just kept using that dog.
One pissed on the set real good.
That's right. One pissed on the set. And when we needed the dog to come in and go to that blood spot on the carpet and sniff it, lick it, and so they put tuna juice on there. That's a little trainer trick.
We actually used tuna juice on Jason as well.
Anywhere you put tuna juice, there's tuna juice right here.
We're gonna do
We'll cut that out.
we're gonna do one more question. Right there. Sure.
There were a lot of like references in pop culture jokes that I felt very natural, like to the script. But sometimes when I'm watching like another movie, another comedy, it's just like a bunch of references that get taken out. And sometimes I don't enjoy it as much. But I thought it was very natural in this movie. So can you talk about finding a balance of okay, it's okay to reference the outside world, but maybe it's just talking about.
Well, I think it was organic to the subject matter, because when you're playing a game called Celebrity, you're obviously going to be referencing real people. I think for us, if you're going for the laugh on the name of a celebrity, it's a pretty weak joke. You'd probably do better than that. But, you know, in like the Tinky Winky thing, I mean, that was, that's pop cultural. But,
yeah, I mean, the advantage is that all these characters are well averse to pop culture references because they're good at playing games, so it kind of felt like a natural step. But I too am annoyed and fatigued by the overusage of pop culture references in most comedies.
We probably have one too many.
Uma Thurman, great.
Uma Thurman.
A little mean.
I want to actually do a follow-up. When you do that joke about Pulp Fiction, and you're quoting, and you're mentioning the movie, does that require, like, getting permission?
Yes.
We pay for it.
You have to pay for the line, yeah.
We actually, for the Marilyn Manson thing, at first it was, he was going to say, the beautiful people, but we had to pay like $75,000 for that. We were just like, fuck that, it's not worth it. Give that guy 75 grand.
Right before we wrap, because I know I want to do one follow-up for each of you guys. Like me, I'm sure there's other people in this theater that loved Ozark. So my last question for you is, what can you tell people about season 2, where you're at, and what can you tease about it?
We are shooting the 6th episode right now. I go back on Monday. What's today?
Today's Tuesday.
And I think it'll come out in September, I want to say. Not much to tease except that just it gets more complicated and unsettling.
My final question for you guys, and you probably have some idea what it might be. For people in here, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that love the superhero genre. You guys are developing a certain DC movie that you may or may not do. What was it about the character that said, that you guys want to be involved?
So he moves really fast. We're still negotiating, so we can't really say much about it, but
we're shooting episode 6 now. No, I was a big fan of Flash as a kid. I collected comic books.
For people that don't realize, they may or may not do Flashpoint. Yeah.
What's the difference between Flashpoint and Flash?
Flashpoint is a story graphic novel series that Jeff Jones wrote. That's
Flash
time travel.
Yeah.
We love that the Barry Allen character, as played by Ezra Miller, is just super relatable and sort of vulnerable and appealing, and in some of the same ways that Peter Parker was in Spider-Man. So, repeating ourselves.
We're gonna recast.
Comfortable going on tape.
Do it. Let's do run back and forth real quick.
The real wheels on it.
I'm thinking about Flash, maybe the antagonist.
Well, hang on, Steve.
Just called you villainous.
We're losing people.
There they go.
Well,
That was it. We found our Flash over there.
There goes another two. Steve, wrap it up.
All right, sure. That guy over there.
They're turning on us.
There's Flash. Well,
Thank you guys for staying.
Yeah.
We're sure we're going to go short, but we're live.
Thank you so much, ArcLight. Thank you, Warner Brothers.